is News 12 Law Call.
Hi there, thanks so much for staying up with us. Welcome to Law Call. We've got the answers to your legal questions. Here's what's coming up on the program. In our caller segment, we're going to take your questions about product liability, how to recover if you're hurt by a defective product. We'd like you to give us a call. The number up on the screen, 803-442-4551. And then later in the show, we'll explain the criteria for arresting someone after a DUI stop. But first, Attorney Vic Hawk is here to take a look at one of your email questions. Good evening, good morning.
Yeah.
It's Monday. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this show.
Excellent. Well, we've got a good question from Bob. In fact, the question is, Vic, he was arrested last year, and apparently an officer hurt him putting him into the car, at least according to him. He wanted to know if he could prove this and how he would be able to get them to pay his medical bills.
Well, Bob, the answer is pretty simple. You really need a video of what the officer did, or else several witnesses to confirm it. It's very difficult to prove the case otherwise. You have to prove that the officer used excessive use of force, and you file an action under a federal statute we refer to as a 1983 action. If you're in custody, if they go ahead and put you in the jail, then they're going to pay for your medical expenses anyway. But if you bond out, then of course you could only have that remedy of filing a claim for excessive use of force against the officer.
Well, if you'd like to chime in with other email questions for Vic, there's a couple of ways that we'd like you to get involved. One is to go to Vic's website at vichawklaw.com. Another one is to go here. Channel 12 site is wrdw.com. The handsome gentleman on the left. You see the red kind of rectangle there on the right? You can click on this and you'll be able to ask a question that may appear on an upcoming program. Time now to get to our main topic of this morning, and that is product liability law. And good news is, Vic, there are laws in place to protect us in case something is defective, whether it be a car seat in the car or anything else that could endanger our family.
That's right, and it's called a product liability claim, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But first I want to tell everybody thank you very much for staying late, and thank you very much for stopping us on the street all the time and introducing yourself and saying hello. We really appreciate y'all doing that. Mr. Pilati, 80 years old, stopped me a while back and talked about the show, and he enjoyed it. And I know I've talked to several people just this week, so we thank you for that. You know, tonight we're going to talk about product liability, and I've told you all along that we bring on good trial lawyers to help us to understand different aspects of the law. Tonight I brought on not only a very good trial lawyer, I brought on a very good friend. This guy is the kind of friend that no matter when you need him, when you need help, whatever, you can go to him in the middle of the night, early in the morning. He'll be a little grumpy early in the morning, but he will always be there for you, and he's a great trial lawyer. That's Mr. Bill Sussman. Bill Sussman is a member of the Trial Lawyers Associations both in Georgia and in South Carolina. He's licensed in Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. I think he has a Florida license to show off. But anyway, Bill, can you tell our viewers what is a product liability claim?
Well, first of all, and thank you for having me on the show tonight, Vic.
Sure.
I am not available in the middle of the night. I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
What is your cell phone number?
Neil especially will not have that.
Okay.
But a product's liability claim is basically when a manufacturer makes something and it doesn't work right and someone gets injured as a result. If there's no injury, then there's not really any damages that you can make a claim against. But if there's something that causes someone to get hurt, and there's a problem with the way the product was made or designed, then you have a claim.
Yeah.
You made an excellent point when we were chatting before going on the air. Of course, everyone has just been so captivated by the awful situation out in Connecticut. A lot of folks wondered, you know, if there were metal detectors there, and apparently there were not, but that could have been a claim.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. If there had been metal detectors and this young man that went into the school went through one of the detectors and it didn't detect like it was supposed to because there is a problem with the metal detector device, then that company that made the metal detector could be liable.
That would be a classic liability, products liability claim. You got first, you got a defective product. Then second, because it was defective, it didn't work. And then third, you got huge losses that should be borne by the individual corporation, limited partnership that created the defect, rather than society paying for the losses of those children. So that would be a classic products liability claim.
All right, we're going to take our first call of the morning. Carolyn from South Carolina joins us. Hello, Carolyn.
Good evening.
Hi. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, a DUI case you've been involved in.
Yes, actually, it was my best friend was pulled over in North Augusta and was driving on a suspended license and refused both the roadside sobriety test and the jailhouse sobriety test. Now, he was processed and bonded out the next day, but my question would be, would it be an advisement for him to hire a lawyer at this point?
Bill?
Well, depending on what the prior history of this subject was, as far as whether they had whether your friend had prior DUIs or prior suspensions, there could be mandatory jail time. And so it would be smart, in my opinion, although most of the time when you ask a lawyer if they should get if they should have someone should have a lawyer, they usually say yes. But in this particular instance, I think it would be very wise to consult with an attorney in South Carolina to see what that person's options are, see the method of the stop, to see if there are any defects in the way the police handle the procedure. There are a lot of technicalities in South Carolina that have to be followed, or cases can be thrown out or reduced. So at least consult with a lawyer, and then the person can make their own decision.
Well, our topic, of course, tonight is product liability, and the telephone number is 803-442-4551. If you have any questions about that, we'd like you to try to call in, but because it's so late, we're going to take some different topics and calls, including one from Robert from South Carolina. Another DUI situation. Robert, we understand that you were detained for a bit. Is that right? You were in jail?
Yes, that's right. I did 4.5 years.
Okay, and so obviously you're calling us and you're out. How about your driver's privileges?
Privileges have been, I guess, reduced. I have no driver's privileges.
How long have they been suspended or going to be suspended, Robert?
Well, till 2026, I believe.
All right. And your question is, you want to know if you can get them back?
That's it.
All right. Bill?
Well, did you get a notice from the South Carolina DMV concerning the period of suspension, or did the judge order the suspension?
Actually, I've been to the DMV. I've consulted them, and they told me that my license would be suspended for a period of, I guess, preceding my probation, about 3 years.
Okay, your license would be suspended up until your probation ends?
Well, actually, yeah, it's 3 years past probation.
Okay, well...
But the actual predicted would be till 2026.
South Carolina DMV controls when a license is issued. Do they offer you any kind of work permit or route restricted license?
Nothing like that.
All right, well, with a felony DUI, the law is pretty clear. The statute is probably going to control when your license is returned. The only other thing I can offer you is if you want to call, this is going to take a little while, you can call me or another South Carolina lawyer off, maybe tomorrow sometime and give me more details. Maybe we can find a way to get you some kind of permit.
Oh, okay. We try to find solutions here. Difficult situation. We're going to take our first time out. Bill may want to get a little nosh in the green room, and then we'll come back and we'll take more of your questions. Remember, it's the holiday time. We're buying toys for the kids. Could be defective. If you have some questions, the number 803-442-4551. You're watching News 12 Law Call. And welcome back. If you've been pulled over on suspicion of DUI, how do the police determine whether or not to arrest you? Well, in tonight's legal brief, personal injury attorney Melissa Detchmendy explains several factors are involved.
Generally speaking, there are 3 types of evidence that a police officer will consider and gather in a DUI investigation. Your general behavior as observed by the officer may include erratic driving, slurred speech, or the smell of alcohol on your breath or in the car. Field sobriety tests include exercises like asking you to walk a straight line, stand on one leg, or say the alphabet backwards. Chemical tests may check your breath or blood for alcohol. You can't be forced to take any of these tests, but refusing can result in harsh consequences. Your license may be suspended, or your refusal may be used as evidence against you in court. What's the best way to avoid a DUI arrest? That's easy. Don't drink and drive. That's your legal brief for tonight. I'm personal injury attorney Melissa Detchmandy of the Vic Hawk Law Firm. Back to you.
And thanks so much, Melissa. And we're joined by Melissa's colleague, Vic Hawk, and also Bill Sussman. Our topic, products liability. And we're joined on the telephone by George from Augusta. Hello, George.
Yeah, hey, just a quick question of Mr. Sussman and I will get off and listen. I understand a woman one time around here had bought a fur coat and found a rat inside the lining that had been sewed into the thing. I just wonder if there's any big liability from somebody doing something like that. Could you check that for me?
Yeah. I think I know who this caller is, and I think he's familiar with the case that I had about 25 years ago where someone, in fact, did buy a coat from a local department store, and they found a mouse sewn into the lining. And I think what happened was, if I recall, they took it in for alterations, and I think they actually, seamstress or whoever, accidentally sewed it in there. So I don't think that's quite a products liability case. I think it's maybe negligent sewing. But George, you may recall that we actually got a settlement for that case, emotional distress. Kind of like working with Neil Gordon is kind of emotional distress.
You get about $1.50 for that. But,
we got a little bit more than that.
goodness gracious. Our next caller is Brenda from Georgia. Hello, Brenda.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about a situation that your daughter got involved in.
Yes, my daughter had a birth control implant placed in after her child, but the implant embedded in her uterus, so they had to go back in less than a year to remove it. We were under the assumption, because the doctor told us that it would be no fee, but that the product, that they would pay for it, but they did not. I ended up having to pay, my insurance paid some, and I had to come out of pocket to pay the rest, the remainder. I wanted to know if I could get them to at least give me my money back.
Georgia, I can answer that question pretty simply, but it also brings up another part of products liability. When you have a problem like this occur, if the doctor steps in and says there's something, it moved and it embedded, it may be a potential medical malpractice issue. But if it's a product issue, as a general rule, when a doctor says that they'll pay for it, a simple phone call from a lawyer to that doctor will cause that bill to be paid, and they'll work it out with the manufacturer of the product. Now, the problem that it raises with this kind of case is when you have a products liability claim, they're very expensive to pursue. And unless she had a serious permanent injury, it's kind of like owning a gold mine, and if it's going to cost you $4 to get every $2 worth of gold out of it, it's not worth very much to you. So what I would suggest is that you contact the trial counsel, let them make that phone call on your behalf, and they probably won't charge you anything, or they may charge you very little to do it, and the doctor will make sure that bill's covered.
Could I bring up one point?
Sure.
We talked off camera that actually you brought up, Vic, and that would be that there are certain law firms that specialize in certain types of defective products that also give rise to class action suits or a multi-district, what we call multi-district litigation. And that lawyer or law firm might be out of state, and local people may know nothing about which law firms handle what kind of defective products. So you get a local counsel, sign them up, and then local counsel can find the right law firm that's handling the mass litigation, and that way you get two heads for the price of one.
And it doesn't cost you any more money to have a local trial lawyer to help you with a products liability claim. And then that lawyer refer the case to a particular lawyer that exclusively does those kinds of claims. Like in Georgia, there's a particular lawyer that does child seat restraint product liability litigation. It wouldn't cost you any more money to have somebody local you could talk with and work with the other lawyer and monitor the claim, but he already has all the experts, all the designs, all the information from the manufacturer that causes them to be liable. And in child restraint litigation, when it first started, it was ridiculous what the manufacturers were putting out. They were putting out child restraint seats that couldn't withstand an impact more than 30 miles per hour on a baby. And obviously that stuff's ended now.
Yeah, and of course the Consumer Product Safety Commission gets involved, and that's a case where the federal government can really protect us as well with laws.
But like I tell you, and I tell everybody, it's the trial lawyers that instigate the movement for the legislatures to change laws to protect the public. And it's identifying activity like that by manufacturers and corporations where we file the claims, show a jury what this corporation has done and why there's this big risk created and why the people are suffering from it. And then when the judgments are handed down, then the legislatures start looking at it and say, hey, maybe we need to pass some legislation in this area.
And the laws change. Well, if there's some products that hurt you or you're a little bit concerned about something in your home, we want to hear from you. The phone number 803-442-4551. We'll be here till 1, 2 in the morning, whatever it takes. We're going to answer your questions. Stick around. You're watching News 12 Law Call. Well, as Attorney Bill Sussman mentioned earlier in the program, he'll be available tomorrow to take your calls off air if you have any situations where you've been hurt by products or anything you need some assistance. The number 706-724-3331. Vic Hawk and his associates also available. The phone number 706-722-3500 and online at vichawklaw.com. And the number you can call 803-442-4551 if you'd like to get involved in the program. And we're joined by Scott on the telephone from South Carolina. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. Share with us a little bit about some legal trouble that your father got in.
Well, it's a burglary case, and he was sentenced to 8 years, and I was just wondering, he got an appeal turned down. I didn't know anything else you could do, or just sort of stuck at a crossroads there.
So he his lawyer filed for an appeal to the Court of Appeals, South Carolina Court of Appeals, and they turned it down. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
All right. Has it been within the last 30 days?
Roughly.
Well, you know if did he have an attorney?
Yes.
Has the attorney tried to file some sort of petition for reconsideration or try to file further appeal to the Supreme Court?
No, he said there wouldn't really be no need to go no further with that.
Okay. Did the attorney discuss with the family about the possibility of filing a post-conviction relief petition?
No.
Okay, you have 1 year from the date that the last direct appeals conclude in South Carolina to file a petition for, it's called post-conviction relief. It's statutory habeas, like we have in Georgia.
Yeah.
We have state habeas corpus petitions. You can file for post-conviction relief in South Carolina. In fact, I have 2 pending now, so I'd be happy to go over that in more detail with you if you'd like to call me tomorrow, but he does have that option.
Well, our next issue, Bill and Vic, it could be medical malpractice, could be product liability. Susan from South Carolina will shed a little more light on it. Susan, we understand your friend had a knee replacement?
Yes, she did.
What happened? Did not go well, we understand.
No, it didn't. It was tilted when they put the knee in, tilted. Okay. It ground the bone on the right side down, and they had to go in, get all that out, and replace everything. So what can she do about it?
Well, and again, this sort of issue can come up in any state, really. It involves question of whether or not the product itself was defective, or whether the person that put the product in or installed or used the product did it in a negligent fashion. Without having more information, it would be very difficult for us to tell whether the product was defective or whether the doctor that perhaps put the replacement in did it incorrectly. But that's something that has to be discerned, and calling a lawyer to get into that, maybe get the medical records and have it reviewed by another physician, would help you in determining just exactly what it was. Was it the product, or was it the doctor that put the product in this case, knee replacement? And I wanted to mention that Vic and I had been talking about this off camera. You don't go on a products liability case to a lawyer and expect to pay money to take the case. You go to the lawyer and you outline your facts, like for instance, this knee replacement issue. If it's a defective product, that lawyer can take it on a contingency, which is a percentage-based fee. In other words, for instance, a third, 40%, whatever the lawyer can recover for you on that products case, he or she would get 40% of the recovery, and the client would get the balance, plus whatever costs that might have to be advanced. And that's why in these, for instance, there are many medical products that have been made over the years, pharmaceutical products, for instance, drug cases. I'm sure the public has heard about all these various drug class action cases where a drug was not used properly or it was defective. There are lawyers that handle those specific kinds of cases, products cases. They may not be in state, so if you hire a lawyer here, local counsel, then we can, for the same fee, we share the fee, associate out-of-town lawyers that specialize in that type of litigation, and it doesn't cost you anything up front. It's a percentage-based fee. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we're very careful to take these cases because they can be extremely expensive. If you do a real products liability claim, it could be anywhere from $25,000 to $250,000 in expenses to pursue. So we have to know that you can win, and we have to know that it's a serious injury that justifies spending that kind of money.
Well, thanks to both of you for being part of the program.
I just wish you hadn't eaten all the food out of the Nosh room, Neil, and then there would have been something for me. But
the green room, we will restock it. But we do appreciate both Bill and Vic, and you, of course, for staying up. We appreciate it. We're going to continue the discussion of DUI next week. We had some calls tonight, and we hope you have a wonderful work week ahead.
Thank you all for calling.
thank you.